Back in college, I used to refer to myself as an aspiring animator, an aspiring painter, and all I was doing was holding me back. It was tucked in my Instagram bio. I told family and friends that, and it was something I lived by. What I think that ultimately does is kind of instill this fact that we can't do the thing we want to do. Like, if you're painting, if you're making videos, if you're building a business, you are an entrepreneur. You are a creator. You are a painter. You're not an aspiring anything. That terminology only can hold you back. One time I was out with friends and I was introduced to a guy that owned a business. He asked me about my animation and about my art because my friends were already hyping me up about it. So he was already sold on me going into the conversation. So when I shook his hand, I told him my name. I said what I did. I told him I'm an aspiring animator. I'm in school for this. I'm in school for that. And I undersold myself. I wasn't as enthusiastic about me as he was about me. So that kind of turned him off, and the conversation went nowhere. He didn't have anything to rebuttal with, and it kind of just fizzled out from there, and we went on with our night. But if I was confident in my abilities, and I knew maybe I wasn't the best, maybe I just started, but I knew that I was a competent person that could put in the work if I was given the opportunity, that I could get the work done if he asked me for it. So I always worked in hospitality. I always was a server somewhere, bar back, whatever. And anytime I met somebody, I always led the conversation with, hey, nice to meet you. My name's Joey. And then they would eventually ask what you do for a living. I'd tell them I work for this restaurant, right? If you were someone that's working on a passion project or something in the background, lead with that. If you're just meeting the person, you do not have to tell them exactly what you do for work and how you make a living. But you can lead with the thing that's going to actually move the conversation forward. Like, hey, nice to meet you. My name's Joey. I'm a painter. And then that's going to spark a conversation way longer, way more fun than a conversation of, hey, I'm a server at a restaurant. They're going to be like, oh, nice. My sister works at a restaurant too. And then the conversation dies, right? Whereas if you said you're a painter, they're going to be like, oh my God, what kind of painting do you do? And then there's a question there. And then there's a question after that. You pull up your phone, you show them your Instagram, you show them your paintings. That holds way more precedent in their mind than if you were a server. And it's okay if it's not the full truth. It's okay if you meet somebody and you don't tell them every single form of income that you have, right? But if you are selling your art, then it technically is a form of your income, so you can tell them that's what you do. It's a whole nother can of worms that I was actually doing wrong early on, and I would always miss opportunities to tell people about my craft when I was out in public, meeting new people. Watching this video, obviously you do want to achieve more. You do have passions that are bigger than yourself. So don't undersell yourself. If you are already so dead set on the fact of this working for you, just because it's not right now doesn't mean it's not going to in the very near future. So you kind of have to believe it before it even happens. And a quote that I've actually been really studying and thinking about recently is that you have to pretend to fall asleep before you actually do. So I know that sounds like a little silly quote, but it packs so much power. You have to believe that you're an actual creator, an entrepreneur, that business person. In order for you to actually become that person, you need to have conviction in yourself. I know this message could help a ton of you because I've gone through those same steps, those same principles, and I didn't have the conviction in myself. I always undersold myself in conversations, and I just didn't believe that it was even possible for me to actually do. Because once you get stuck in a perpetual loop of working the same types of jobs, working with the same types of people, being around the same type of friends, then that's what kind of life you feel like you're destined to live. But once you open your mind, you get around people that actually are doing more than you, or you can model after, then those opportunities start to open up left and right. Once you start giving yourself more things to learn and opening more opportunities for you to be around. You truly have to believe with every single fiber in your body that it's going to work out for you. You need to fertilize the soil before the seed can actually sprout. And a lot of you have been trying to sprout a seed inside of sand where there's no nutrients and it's just granular sand. So think about it that way. You need to fertilize your brain, fertilize your mind, and stop thinking about the limiting beliefs and the scarcity mindset that have rotted away your mind and mine for many of my years and yours. If we're sticking with the gardening metaphor, you need to uproot the old, dying, rotting roots and replace them with a brand new seed. And a lot of them, stop just hoping for one seed to plant. Start popping seeds everywhere, right? Get yourself around people that are doing it better than you. Get in rooms with people that are doing it way better than you. The 5 closest people to you are the people that are most like you. So if you're hanging around bums, hanging around people wasting their life, then you are probably going to end up doing the same. And it sounds harsh, because you want to keep people close, especially if they're good friends. But sometimes you need to keep them at arm's length, right? Let more people have more time with you that are actually doing something that you want to do. If you're picking up on the full overarching theme of this video, is that it all comes from within. It all starts from your mind. None of these things can happen if you don't have the proper foundation laid before you start. So this concept came from a book that I read called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a pretty early on self-development entrepreneurial book, but what they did in the first couple chapters, or what he did, was essentially write down your overarching goal, your mission statement, and recite that back to yourself every single day. I double-clicked on what I wanted to achieve in my life, and I wrote it down into a 2 to 3 sentence statement, and I read it to myself daily. I used to recite it in the shower. I used to go through it in my mind right before bed. What I started realizing was they were pretty much teaching you how to pray without religion attached to it. And recently, I've been learning how to pray with religion. So this is something I never thought I would say, but I've been starting to grow a relationship with God. I went to church these last 2 weekends. I'm honestly fairly new to it, obviously. Like, I went when I was a kid. I never thought to myself that this might be the boundary that I was keeping up for myself, limiting my potential, limiting my success. But I realized that when I was listening to all these interviews of successful people, entrepreneurs, creators, they always ask, like, did faith play a big role in your success? And every one of them that were like multi-million, billion-dollar founders and creators, they were all able to ramble off at least like a quick sentence saying like, God's always been on my shoulders, or like, it's 99% faith or something like that. Like, they always had these little catchphrases that I felt like were way too polished to not be true. There's no reason that I model everything off of these successful people, their morning routines, the way they track their time, the way they schedule their day. But I didn't realize that I was missing a huge key component, and it was the belief. It was the trust and the conviction that I could actually do it at all. I was just following the templatized step-by-step methods, but it's way bigger than that. Like, believing in God and having a faith-based mindset, by understanding that it's not necessarily your fault if it fails, it's all part of the process kind of mindset. Those are the type of things that help people move along in this life. And not having any faith or having any trust that there's better than what you're doing can keep you stagnant. And I don't know if any of that really made sense. I was just kind of rambling just now, but that's what I've been feeling in my heart a little bit. And there's no reason that if I watched 200 interviews and they all said they had some sort of faith backing, that having a relationship with God could actually do you any harm, right? So my family's honestly never been religious. It's not like I've grown up going to church. I did it maybe like Easter morning, like a couple times when I was a kid. So I've always been pretty against religion and thinking that it might be a cult. And it was definitely something I was super adverse to. It's been something that's bringing me a lot of positivity and some closure in my life. As we all know, our mindset is our strongest superpower. And if you can't sharpen it, then nothing else is going to work. No amount of 15-hour days and no amount of just grinding it out until it works is going to work unless you have a little bit of backing on mindset and have a strong enough work ethic to make it actually happen. What I've grown to realize is that there's going to be a ton of failure. There's going to be a lot of things that go wrong. Something I've been able to hold closely is that if failure exists, then that means success exists as well. That means winning and losing, and that you're able to win, right? If there wasn't failure, then you wouldn't be able to succeed. Something about me is that I've always been pretty resilient. I've always had a pretty positive mindset, even when things are going wrong. For instance, this morning, I usually go on like a nature walk on Mondays, and this time I chose the beach. It was not a bright and sunny day. It was windy and rainy, and for some reason, I love it when I can go walk the beach and it's feeling gloomy, right? Not very many people are there. You can sit there, reflect, pray, meditate, and it's very therapeutic. So just as an actionable tip for this video, I'd say get out there and go for as many walks as you can in a day. Like on my Garmin, I try to hit like 10,000, 12,000 steps a day, especially on days when I feel bad, when my mind's not there. You will be so surprised what a 5-minute walk can do for your mental and how much it can actually lock you into what's important versus you just scrolling on your phone, or you just sitting on the couch, or you just panicking that your life isn't going the way you want it to. Go for a 5-minute walk. I promise you'll feel different. And if you can go on multiple per day and you can convince yourself that it's actually going to help you, then I promise life is going to start changing. And it sounds like the most simple, silly, ridiculous advice, right? But until I started actually taking the time to go on walks on purpose, instead of it just being like needing to walk at work or having to go walk at the mall for errands or something like that, right? Once you make the purpose of walking to clear your mind and to establish better thinking patterns for yourself, the world opens up so much. The more you walk, the more ideas you get, and the more ideas you get, the more you can create. If this helped you at all, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your responses. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope these kind of videos help in the long term. Hope you have a great week. See you in the next one.